Hello, everybody. I'm Reverend Sue Frederick, and today is the first module of my sacred numerology class. And I'm thrilled to be talking to you about numerology because this sacred art first came into my life in 1980 when my beautiful young husband, Paul Frederick, had just died of colon cancer. And I needed to know why. I needed to know why he had suffered, where he had gone. Why was I still here? Why couldn't I just lift into the divine and join him? Why did I have to stay in this earthly lifetime? I was asking those questions at the age of 29. And I know that nowadays, many 20-year-olds especially are asking these questions. Why do I have to be in this challenging world? And if you've ever lost a loved one, because I specialize in helping people connect to their departed and look at their grief story in a completely different way, and numerology is part of that. So I'm so excited to share it with you today. And I specialize in helping people understand why they're here. What is their soul's purpose? What did they come to do? Why did they agree to go through a challenge, especially like losing a loved one? So let's start with the numbers. I also want to make it clear that I distinguish. I've been studying numerology, remember, since 1980. And I distinguish between what I call superstition-based numerology and my method, which I call sacred numerology. And the difference is, I do not believe that there are any good or bad numbers. Numbers are a sign from heaven, a sign from the divine about how to work with the energy here on earth, how to use the flow of reinvention that we may find ourselves in, and what is the energy of the soul mission that I agreed to, that you agreed to, and what is the energy of our agreement together, our soul agreement. The numbers provide the answers to all of those questions. And if you ever hear in the traditional way people talking about numerology in a way that makes you think a number might have a bad influence on you or might be a bad sign, walk away from that, because I believe God is love, and these numbers are a pure channel of love and guidance and wisdom from the highest realms. And God is all loving and all good. So there would be nothing in numerology that would be separate from that all good, all God, loving consciousness. So now I have given you all in the materials a link to a numerology guidebook that I've created, and we're going to go to it right now. And I'm going to teach this first module from here. And this is my bio. I am an ordained unity minister and a lifelong intuitive, past life and between lives soul regression therapist. I'm the author of several books, including Through a Divine Lens, Your Bridges to Heaven, I See Your Dream Job, I See Your Soulmate. And I'm also an intuitive coach. I've helped thousands of people find their purpose and connect to their departed loved ones. I also have a mystical conversation podcast that you can find on Apple Podcasts and on any other venue. And my website is SueFrederick.com, where you will find a lot more videos and helpful information. So in this numerology class, we will be studying all of these topics, and I'm going to divide them up into segments as we go. And they are history and meaning of numbers according to Pythagoras, as they were created in 580 BC. and then how to reduce it to a single digit as it's required in numerology. And then from that, calculate your birth path. We will look at the 3 master soul numbers, 11, 22, and 33, and my unique way of calculating the birth path. I teach 3 distinct ways of adding that birth date: the linear, the stacked, and the single digit method. And they give you important information about your path. So I'll be covering that. And then each number has its own positive and negative vibration, which simply means we get to choose if we're going to live on the positive side of that energy or sort of get lost in the negative energy of the negative energy of a lesson. I'll also talk about how in my unique method of numerology, I combine the birth path with the astrology sun sign in order to get a feeling about that soul journey. I also will teach the name number, the pinnacle cycles, the personal year cycles, and how the Saturn returns affect us. And I will show you the birth path charts that I use in every session that I do with clients. So now the first fun fact is that Pythagoras, you know, that guy who created our number system in 580 BC. Well, he also taught, he was actually a mystic, and he ran a school for enlightenment, and he taught that numbers are not just about quantity, that they also reveal, each of them, a different energy that can help us in our lives when we learn to understand it. And then in Pythagoras' system, he taught that the first step is you always have to add up every double digit to get to a single digit. And then that there are 3 master soul vibrations that you don't completely add together. You take note of them, and they are 11, 22, and 33. And I'll explain those more in just coming up in a minute. So to add to the basic numerology calculation, you add 2 single digits together to come up with the single. For example, on your screen, the number 43 equals 7 because you're adding 4 plus 3 to get 7. And the number 10 equals 1 because you're adding 1 plus 0 to get 1. Now, in the way I look at numerology, and please know that I've been studying the numbers since 1980. I've done thousands and thousands of clients. I do readings every day and have done them every day for decades for clients based on sacred numerology, the way I'm teaching it here. And also, I have been taught by Spirit. I have received numerous downloads from Spirit and Spirit Guide to help me understand the depth and the healing qualities of every number so that I could be an accurate and very wise numerology teacher and guide for other people. And I've studied those numbers through every different approach to numerology that I could ever find a book about. And instead, after reading all of that, came up with what resonated as true for me by working with clients and finding out what really was true for them. So a birth path calculation comes from your date of birth. So if we take this birth date on the screen as an example, October 16th, 1980, the month is October, which equals 10 because you're adding 1 plus 0, and that equals 1 at 1 plus 0. And date is 16, which equals 7 because you're adding that 1 plus 6 to get 7. The year of 1980 equals 9 because you're adding 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 0, which gives you 18. And 18 gives you 9 because you're adding everything together to get a single digit. And so then the birth path is 8 because that is the ultimate single digit that you have come up with as you add the 1 month to the 7 date to the 9 year. As you can see here, 1 plus 7 plus 9 equals 17, which equals 8. So this person is on a Libra 8 path soul mission, or you can call it birth path. And here's another example of how to calculate your birth path. So if you have this workbook in front of you, please sit down and do it right now. Add your birth month to your birth date to your birth year, and you'll total it and you'll get a single digit, and that will be your birth path number. However, there are always complications. And in this case, we can say they are good complications because the master numbers 11, 22, and 33 tell us so much more about the vibration of what we've come to do. So let's look at this birth date on the screen, September 15th, 1951. September is a 9-month. 15 again equals 6 because you're adding 1 plus 5 equals 6, and 1951 equals 7 because 1 plus 9 plus 5 plus 1 equals 16. And when you add the two digits of 16 together, you get 7. So now you add the 9 of September, the 6 of the date, and the 7 of the year, like it says down here, and you come up with the number 22. That means this soul is on the 22 birth path. Now, I teach and have taught for decades that you can't just add the birth date one way. You can't just add it the linear way or the stacked way or the single digit way. And the reason is that you will miss if one of those three ways has the master soul double-digit number in front of this final single-digit number, and that double-digit number of a master path could be 11, 22, or 33. If either of these ways comes up with the 11, the 22, or the 33 before it digits down to the single number, then that means this person is on the master soul journey of the 11, the 22, or the 33. So in this example, May 1st, 1960, you take the linear method up top. This is the simplest method. Many numerology books and apps only use the linear method, and they are not getting the whole story or the whole vibration of the path, in my opinion. But you simply add 5, which is May, 1, which is the date, to the year, 1960. You add them all together. And in this case, you do get the master soul double-digit number of 22 in front of the 4. So it shows that this person is on the 22-4 master soul path. If you stack the date, May 1st, 1960, the way it is here on the screen, you will see that adding it just the way you might have added it in math class when you were young gives you the number 1966, and then you add these digits together, and then you come up with 22, and then you add those two and get the 4. So that means that 2 out of these 3 ways is coming up with the 22 before the 4. And then if we added the single digit method, this is also a very popular way that many numerologists teach, where you take the month and make the single digit of the month, the date, the single digit of the date, and the year, and turn that into a single digit. First, it'll be a double digit. Then you add that together and you get a single digit. And then you add these 3 together and you end up with the double digit number before the single one. So in this case, that comes to 13-4. So what I get from this birth date, because I use my intuition and the numerology to get the feeling of what this soul is all about and here to accomplish, means May 1, Taurus. We know they're strong. We know that when they put their mind to something, they will accomplish it, but they are extremely practical, extremely hardworking, and that their challenge is to lift up from the earthbound way to see the bigger picture. And because they agreed to come in on the 22-4 Master Soul path, their soul is calling them to lift up from the practical and see life more from the 22. And the 22 means to do work that shifts consciousness, that makes a difference in the world. And if the 22 shows up 2 out of the 3 ways, it means they will have a double urge to get that work done sooner than later in their lifetime. If they had had a triple way that the 22 showed up, if it had showed up here as well, then that would have meant that their life would have been intense from day one of their soul nudging them to step up to the great work of 22 rather than just the vibration of the 4. So we're going to get to the meanings of these numbers in just a second, but I want you to have this in your head. If you have to stop and study this, that's fine, because this page right here is the key to understanding how to calculate your birth path. Now, sometimes the double-digit Master Soul number shows up one of these 3 ways, and that means, yeah, they intend to step up to that greater work at some point in their life, but they will choose when they're ready. But if it's a double urge, it means they'll be more intense to get it done, especially by the second Saturn return in their late 50s. They will be nudged to step up to their higher work. If it's 3 ways, then it's going to be a very intense life from day one. So, and this is all good, by the way, none of it's bad, because it's really helpful to know how intent your soul is when it made its birth plan to come to Earth and live the life that you're living. And it can explain so much when you understand that, gee, I didn't come here to just fit in, play it safe. I came in with a great mission in my soul. And the more I can understand that, the better I can step up to it, and my life will get better and better. So these are the meanings of the numbers. Number 1 is just the way it sounds. It's about leadership and being a visionary and being independent. And yet the downside, or we should say the challenge, is that the energy of the 1 is born in self-doubt. So the mission of the lifetime of a 1 path is that they step up from the self-doubt, even though they're doubting themselves, and rise up above it to become a visionary and a leader in their own unique way. 1 path souls can change the world with their vision. For example, Martin Luther King Jr. was a 1 path soul, and he said, I have a vision for humanity where the color of our skin does not matter, and it's only about what is in our heart. That is such a beautiful 1 path vision, and he was so far ahead of his time. And if you study his life, he did doubt himself tremendously. He would go out and give a life-changing speech to the world, and he'd go home and say, nobody agrees with me. Everybody's arguing with me. Some people say it takes violence. I don't believe in violence. And he felt very alone in his message, which now we look back at all these decades later and we realize, my God, he was the ultimate leader and visionary. And we are still trying to live up to the message he gave us. And the number 2 now. 2 is also the way you think of it. T for 2, let's connect. Let's have relationships. Let's be intuitive with each other. Let's understand each other. But when we're in the dark side of the 2 or the challenge side of the 2, the world is so sensitive. We're so sensitive that we kind of shut down to all those relationships and just get focused on the details of life. If you know anybody who obsessively organizes details and puts all their attention on the physical world, that's probably a 2 path soul who's kind of in pain and shutting down their higher intuition and sensitivity in order to get focused on the details to feel safe. But that's okay. Every minute of life offers us an opportunity to wake up to our highest self. Now we go to the 3 path. The 3 path is so creative. I interviewed someone on my podcast this morning, and he's evidential medium, psychic. He's written books. He's doing scientific research about measuring consciousness. He's just brilliant. And he's so fun because he's a 3 path, and everything he does has to be creative and witty and fun and not solemn and serious. He's so much on his path. Now, the 3 path has to learn, though, that they just can't live in their head forever with their great ideas and their creative impulses, that they have to also open the heart. And every 3 path I've ever known is much happier living in their head with ideas and creativity and their own self-expressive path. And that opening the heart and living from the heart is their challenge. 4, I know the number 4 very well because it is my birth path. I'm on the 22/4. And the 4 is all about strength and discipline and determination, being practical and strong. But when it's really in the dark side, when I have been in my greatest moments of pain, I only feel safe when I am focused on the work of life. And when I was younger, that was even physical work. Like in my 20s, I taught mountaineering. I climbed the highest peaks in Colorado, 14,000-foot peaks, and taught others how to climb. I led mountaineering groups up those 14,000-foot peaks. That hard work, that intense physical labor made me feel grounded and helped me heal from some of my childhood problems that I had had. Finding strength in your body, mind, and spirit is what the 4 is trying to do. And yet, if you get lost, you will get too focused on the physical and too practical and too much lost in the drudgery of hard work. Believe you me, that can be me as well. The 5 path energy, I love 5 so much. 5 is such a, I know these numbers so well now that if I say the number 5, I feel the vibration of it. It makes me smile. It's about change and sensuality and adventure and passion and freedom. Everything fun. Let's go on a vacation. That's a 5 path journey. Let's be sensual. That's 5. And then, of course, the struggle or the challenge with 5 is because the world pulls you out into it so much. And that's how you've come to learn on a 5 path. You can fall off the edges. You can have addictions. You can get lost in physical passions. You'll have great charisma on this path, and so that can attract a lot of the wrong opportunities to you, because what you're trying to learn on the 5 is to be fearless, however, to find your spiritual center and only choose what serves your highest good, not just every shiny thing that comes towards you. The 6 is all about caring about the world at large, social consciousness, politics, community, family. You are a born teacher, a healer, a politician. You care about the good of the group, the good of all. 6 is also a number of just pure-hearted love, family, all that wonderful, juicy stuff. Dark side of the 6 is that because you give your heart to so many people, care about the group at large, you can get pulled off of your center and lose your way, lose your sense of self, and lose your sense of what is good and fair in the world, simply because you are trying to please others. So, trying to see where I am here. There we go. The 7 is my favorite number. Well, I have lots of favorite numbers, but 7 is the number of spirituality. So I feel very at peace when I even say the number 7. It's a number of connecting to the divine realms more than you want to connect to the physical earthly realms. So that's me, I'm on a different birth path. I have to work a lot, but as you get into the numbers with me on this course, you'll learn about things like the name number. My name number, my heart's longing is the 7. I long for peace. I long for spiritual wisdom. I long for retreat and quiet. That is the energy of 7. 7 is also very intuitive, always asking why and seeking higher answers. When 7 is lost and off path, they can be incredibly cynical and skeptical and critical. 3 words: cynical, skeptical, and critical, because the flip side of that is open to spiritual learning and knowledge. Those 2 different sides of the same coin. Very important to understand how that works. And when I say there's no such thing as a good or bad number, that's what I mean. You might meet a 7 path who's very cynical, very skeptical, even critical to a point of being mean and cold. And yet it's because the higher vibration of seeking spiritual truth may have been a painful experience when they were young. They may have been raised in some sort of fundamental church that made them feel unworthy, and they realized that was not true, and they walked away from it, and in the process walked away from all belief in anything beyond the physical. And now they are shut down and cynical. But again, every breath gives us a chance to wake up to our highest potential. One moment of quiet meditation, of reading a new spiritual book, or dipping our toe in the water of spiritual exploration, visiting a Buddhist temple or a unity church, or any number of things can begin to open us up again. And if we're on the 7 path, help us find the spiritual wisdom that resonates as true for us. And now the 8 path. Totally different energy. The 8 is about number and power in the world and accomplishing things and wealth. I have to say that if you're on the 8 path, you have come to learn about money and becoming extremely wealthy, because the lesson in that is, how do I use my power for good in the world, even when I'm extremely wealthy? And if I am abusive and not generous, then I am on the dark side of my power use. If I am generous and I empower other people, I am in the light of the best use of my 8 path power. The 9, ultimate number. Even John Lennon wrote a song, number 9, about the ultimate meaning of life is found in the number 9. And it's ultimately about compassion, love, forgiveness, and caring about the world at large, doing humanitarian work in the world. Even if you're an artist, you can create music or artwork or writing that really does good for the world, helps the world, brings the world together. Now, because 9 is the ultimate number, if you're on the 9 birth path, you've come into a final lifetime to tie up all your lessons by finding grace, compassion, forgiveness wherever you are wounded, whenever someone disappoints you, rather than becoming bitter and blameful and hurtful to those who have hurt you or disappointed you. That's your challenge and your gift for the 9 path. And now those very fun 3 master soul numbers, the 11, the 22, and the 33. The 11 means super sensitivity, pure channel to the divine. I can channel in artistic gifts. I can really be intuitive, but I am here to heal others with my sensitivity, not to let the world make me feel beat up, because I can hear everyone's thoughts and feel their energy, and it can be too much on me and make me shut down if I'm an 11, unless I learn to open my heart and know that I'm a healer and use my intuition to help others. But it is a super sensitive path. The 22 like me, came in knowing they wanted to work hard and be strong. And as I've evolved, I've learned to step more and more into my 22 of doing work that makes a difference in the consciousness of the world, shifting us into a higher vibration, higher understandings. Oprah is my favorite example of a 22, really doing hard work in the world, creating so much content, all with the goal of shifting us to higher ideas about how to be humans in this dense realm of the physical. The 33, ultimate master soul vibration number. If you are here on the 33 path, it means, wow, you got approval from your guides to come in on this super intense, super sensitive, and super gifted number of the 33. It is believed that Jesus Christ, our enlightened teacher, came to show us that we are all part of God and that we have to learn love and compassion in our human journeys. And it is believed that he was on the 33 path in his life. And that should tell you a lot about the meaning of the 33. I came as a 33. I'm not a 33. I'm speaking as a 33. I came as a 33 because I want to do ultimate healing work for the world, illuminating our highest vibration of who we can be as humans. Whenever you're trying to understand the 33, go back to the story of Jesus Christ, not the literal interpretation in the Bible, but the metaphysical understanding that he came to teach us love and compassion and forgiveness at a time in humanity when that was not the way things were being done. So if you want to know more about those numbers, you can read any of my books. They're all on Amazon, and they explain in depth more about the vibration of each of these numbers. And I have to remind you, I've spent an entire 40-something years studying these numbers. So it cannot be reduced down into a very small teaching class, but this is your beginning of going out in the world and studying these numbers based on what you've learned in this module, and then taking it to the next level as you learn more and more. Now, before we go for the day, I'm going to quickly tell you that in my version of numerology, I bring the sun sign into it. Now, I don't call myself an astrologist because, well, I do know a lot about astrology. That is not my wheelhouse, but I have two things from astrology that really help in my system of numerology. That you take your sun sign, you add it to your birth path. You just figured out your birth path in the previous pages. And now you add your sun sign to that, and you get a feeling or a gestalt about your path and what you're here to do and how you're here to do it. I use these dates that are on your screen. I don't believe in the cusp for my purposes of showing you the vibration of what you've come to do. So for example, if your birth date is July 22nd, you are on the last day of Cancer before it switches into Leo in my system. So you would say, then I'm a Cancer. And if your path is the number 8, for example, you would say, I'm a Cancer 8. What is the feeling of that? Well, the Cancer says, I'm sensitive, but I hide it with my shell on the exterior, but deep inside, I'm deeply sensitive, and I do want to help people. I want to be a healer of some kind. And if I'm on the 8 path as a Cancer, then I'm going to make that into my business. I'm going to create a healing center, and I'm going to make a lot of money from it. And then I'm going to turn around and give that money to the places and nonprofit organizations that need it. So that's how you combine the sun sign with the birth path. And these are more dates on this page. Now, remember, you have this workbook. You can be referencing all of this material. So in my system, you add your sun sign, which gives you the flavor of how you're going to accomplish your path. For example, if you're a Pisces 7, that's so sensitive and so intuitive to study spirituality, versus an Aries 7 who comes to teach it loud and proud and maybe be cynical for a while and then step up and be a great motivational speaker. It's the Aries versus the Pisces, and the content soul mission is the same as the 7. So when you combine your sun sign with your path, you get these wonderful intuitive moments of knowing and understanding your mission in a deeper way. Now, this is in your workbook, and in one sentence or more, superficially, Aries is here to be loud and proud and bold. Taurus brings with them a strength and a determination that, if it's too tightly gripped on the practical, can be stubborn and refuse to change. The Gemini has a brilliant mind. I think the most brilliant mind is always a Gemini. And yet, if it's not tamed with meditation and spiritual practice, the flip-flopping of the Gemini mind will drive you and everybody else crazy. The Cancer is so sensitive and sweet, but hidden beneath the shell of the crab. And so as you open up as a Cancer, you allow your feelings and intuitions to be your gift and to guide your work. The Leo, the loud and proud lion, is the ultimate teacher in the world, filling the world with your heartfelt, loving messages and wisdom. If you're lost, then it's just all about getting attention for being the loud lion. So it's either the loving lion or the loud lion as a Leo, but you're really here to use your heart to be the fire of knowledge and inspiration for others. The Virgo, like me, is always seeking truth and understanding and has a pure-heartedness about them. But again, if they're kind of lost and in their negative point of view from pain, they can be just lost on the imperfections of life and trying to make the details of life perfect, which is impossible, because the Virgo is here ultimately to have soul perfection, to seek spiritual perfection and release any desire for physical perfection, because there's no such thing. The Libra, all about balance and grace and beauty and truth, and again has to bring quiet and spiritual practice to their minds, because much like the Gemini, they're going to flip back and forth and never be able to make a decision as a Libra. But when they're using it the right way, it becomes this gloriously beautiful, creative art way of bringing in your work. So if you're a Libra 4, you would find a way to do your work with somehow bringing in writing or acting or music in as part of your work because of that beautiful Libra energy. The Scorpio has an intensity that allows them to go beyond the surface of anything and see the deeper meaning of it and understand and experience the true pain of the human journey, so that when they're ready, they can become a healer for others here on earth. Now, Sagittarius is the opposite, all out in the world, very surface and superficial, but friends with everyone. And yet they're here to not get pulled outside of themselves by that Sagittarius energy, but to find their center and have meaningful relationships because of their social gifts. They have to really work on being true and purposeful rather than just enjoying being the life of the party. The Capricorn is much more about being grounded and competent in this physical world. If you choose Capricorn, it means you really wanted to have a lifetime where you learn to be strong and have a career and be grounded here, no matter how intuitive or sensitive you may be. However, you have to be careful, because you can get too Capricornish and too caught in the practical, in the reality quote unquote based approach, and really ignore the invisible realms and your soul's wisdom because it's not practical enough. Then if we go to Aquarius, You are the born teacher of higher ideas. You came in with lofty knowledge and inspiration to share with others. You should teach it, you should write it, but you have got to step up to those higher ideas. And yet you also have to able to have personal relationships where you open your heart one-on-one to others, rather than always thinking about what new ideas the world needs. The age of Aquarius, for example, we started all these great ideas like communes and organic farming, and along the way we forgot how to relate to each other one-on-one with kindness. But now Pisces, we come to Pisces, the ultimate expression of the soul journey, profound intuition, innate spiritual wisdom, ability to connect to those higher realms at any time, ability to see another person's pain at any time, and yet too sensitive sometimes for their own good. And so if they're not spiritually awakened, they can turn to negative or self-indulgent acts that can make them shut down their sensitivity just so they can feel they can survive here. So that's it. Next module, we'll be covering soul agreements. Now, remember that we talked about at the beginning how this is my, Sue Frederick's, unique approach to numerology. So go back and study those workbook pages we just went through, and go back and listen to this video and see if you have any questions. And then in our next module, module 2, we will work on moving it forward and talking about soul agreements, and from there on. So you can also email questions to me, sue@brilliantwork.com. And I have a website, suefrederick.com. And there's a lot more content there as well. So I wish you the best, and it's an honor to be sharing sacred numerology with you. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.